Hi, hello, my friends. My name's Janice, and thank you. Welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about stress that everyone that I am talking with, clients, friends, family members, may be going through. And you or someone you know is going through a lot of stress right now. There's a lot of stress going on, and change is in the air and it brings stress. Sometimes even positive change brings stress, and uncertain change brings stress. And so, how can we not get caught in the, the hurricane or the tornado of stress and to stay above the fray, rise above it, to be above it? So, today I wanted to talk about some different theories and some practices that you can do to really help you rise above the situation. Because right now, there's a lot of social and political stress in the air around the world, not just in the United States. The United States is definitely having a moment. Um, and so how do we manage that in a healthy way that really brings more harmony in our own hearts, more peace in our own hearts? And so I wanted to talk about a couple things. And one is I wanted to talk about Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor who actually, before World War II, before he went in and was taken into the concentration camps, and horribly, his whole family, he lost his whole family. Before he did go, he studied human behavior. And he really came up with how significant that having a search for the meaning of life was really critical for what I'll call rising above the fray of life. And so he really felt that the search for the meaning of life was more significant than the need to survive. And what he discovered while he was in the concentration camps is that's what kept him able to really manage some horrible, devastating situations, losses, suffering, hunger, abuse. And so when he came out and of the concentration camps and was freed up, he really moved into this theory of that there's different ways to really discover and search for the meaning of life. And so one of those, well, I'm going to talk about all three, and then I want to talk about another study that was done um, working with locus of control, internal, external locus of control. But so Viktor Frankl, back to him, so he was saying, so there's different three ways. One is to really have a greater purpose with your work, whether it's career, volunteer, service to others, to really be looking at the well-being of something outside of yourself. When you can do that, then what's going on in your own journey inside is not as significant. It's like building the compassion and really strengthening. I'm adding to what he was talking about, as I'm going to do with all of it. And the second one was really to really search for what brings joy, love, relationship love, nature love, art love, music love, just really getting involved and having yourself in this space of love and really doing that. And then the other one, which I've talked about in a couple other videos, is the importance of suffering. And we don't even like that word. Most of us, I know. But I want to talk about it because if you look at everybody you know that has made a drastic change in their life, that has really risen above the fray, then most likely they have experienced suffering, really looked at it, and moved through it, and through examining it, moved through it, and really gained a greater courage in life to really see life from the different lens. Or as I have a video where I'm talking about the silver lining, really looking at the silver lining, learning from the lesson of the suffering, and really going above it. And so Viktor Frankl talks about those three ways as a ways to search for meaning in life, to really find the meaning for you. And then when you're really living more of that, even if there's a lot going on that's really horrible or really stressful, to take it to different levels on the spectrum, when you're really in your inner space, you're able to handle and manage the stress, the grief, the suffering. And so as he talks about is this, through the suffering, he says that everybody suffers. And the Buddhists talk about that. Like, no one in life suffers. And back in the beginning days when I was really kind of love and light and la la la, I thought that was negative. Yeah. Well, now I'm older and I don't know anyone who hasn't had suffering in their life. And so what Viktor Frankl talks about and what I've experienced personally is, what do you do with that? What do you do with the suffering? And this is where we're going to go with the internal-external locus of control. So another group of studies talked about, one study I learned when I was in graduate school, I saw, was that they studied people in government housing and for years and tracked them and really looked at the differences. What kind of things did the ones that actually moved out of government housing into their own empowered life versus those who stayed in government housing and really relied on the assistance of the government? What were the attributes? What they discovered is that more often than not, those who really became more empowered, got out of the government housing, really got out of relying on government assistance, had more internal locus of control. And so internal locus of control and external locus of control is, how do we view the world through the lens? Is the world happening to us? Are we sitting in a swamp and feeling like a victim and feel like we can't move and somebody's got to get us out of the swamp? That's external locus of control. A lot of focus on external. There are positive attributes or elements to external, but right now, today, I'm just talking about stress and from the perspective of, how do you view your own world? And so internal locus of control is sitting in the swamp. The swamp's still there, hasn't left. But do you have the clarity, or not even clarity, but do you have the drive to row yourself out even if you don't know the direction? Are you going to really take responsibility and say, okay, I got to get out of this swamp? So those who have more internal locus of control, they have found really have been able to get themselves out of situations, whereas those who are relying on somebody else to may or may not be able to get themselves out of the situation. And so with these times that we're having right now in the world, and I'm not going to go into, the intuition that I'm getting about different things, because it's really about your empowerment. It's really about what can you do to really help yourself through any stress that's going on in your life. And so the good news is, even if you're an external locus of control person and that you feel like life has hit you hard and that you haven't been able to move forward and you're just like really feeling stuck, there are ways to really cultivate a deeper sense of internal locus of control. And some of those ways are really recognizing the victim part of you, the part that feels helpless, the part, and really going, oh my gosh, no, I've got to push myself out of this swamp that I'm in. And I had a situation in my life where I was in a swamp of life, not a real one. I've been there too, but in a swamp, and I didn't know how to get out. It was a real hard chapter in my life. And I really didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. And I literally pushed myself into activities, as with Viktor Frankl is talking about doing things you love. So I pushed myself into a dance group, and then I pushed myself into political discussions, and I put myself back into taking classes at the university, to go back and get my degree at an older age, or late bloomer. Anyways, I found that by pushing myself, it was really hard at first. What happened is the enthusiasm started kicking in. I started getting excited about life and started really moving more into internal locus of control. Like, yes, I can do this. I am doing this. And then I did do some things that I felt really proud of. And so it's really sometimes we just have to push ourselves into developing that, cultivating that, especially when we're depressed or slugging along and life feels hard. And the other thing is to really to recognize, not only to recognize that you're having a hard time, but to take responsibility, to learn from the mistakes, like what Viktor Frankl was talking about. It's like, okay, how did I get in this swamp? Okay, I took this route, this attitude, that attitude, and this is where I am. And okay, yes, how can I get out of the swamp? And so it's really about looking at it from a mindful way and not letting the emotion drive the car. A lot of times when we're in a lot of stress, it's like the emotions want to take over, like the steering wheel in life, and it's driving the car here and there and into the swamp. And it's like, okay, yeah, I let my emotions get the best of me to move me in this situation, and learning how to be managing with emotions, whether it's through exercise, nature, breath work, meditation, yoga. There's so many ways to really learn how to be with emotions and even cry. I mean, we have tear ducts for a reason. Journaling. So really accepting emotions as a part of, and suffering, as Viktor Frankl talks about, and the Buddhists, as part of the human experience of life. It's just not something when we try to shove it down, no, I don't want to have those feelings, it's too scary, then what we're doing is really allowing ourselves to be a victim of our own emotional body. And so there's probably a lot of feelings coming up, a lot of fear, and it's really allowing ourselves to say, okay, I'm afraid. It's okay to be afraid. This is a scary time, and how can I move past, still allowing ourselves to be afraid, not trying to shove it down, still allowing ourselves to be in grief, not shove it down, while not needing it to drive the car. So I found that to be really quite useful for tools for me. And just to know that if you're feeling like you're sitting in the swamp of life, it's not a fun place to be. It's not an easy place to be, and the only way out is sometimes just to start rowing the boat of life and ask for help. Not expect help, not feel like a victim and that the only way to get out is to get help, but to really look at the directions that you need and what do you need, to help you get through this while you're rowing the boat. Can somebody, guide you along, help you along? Can, somebody to work with your feelings, work with like yoga, meditation, like finding ways to really rise above the fray. And to keep doing it, because every day might have a new stress. And this is a very interesting time we're in, a very big chapter in life, in a lot of ways. And, so the couple other points I want to talk about. I want to talk about the news. I had an experience with news, and I want to share this with you. But so I didn't realize this, but it happened at a time where I was learning about the limbic brain and operating with the brain and how it impacted it gets with PTSD. So my father had moved back into the country, and then he moved in with me, and he was a big TV watcher, and I wasn't at that. And he loved the news, and he watched it behind closed doors because and one day I came home. And I'm hearing this, and I went, Dad, what's going on? And he goes, nothing, I'm just watching the news. Light bulb went on, and I realized that the news people talk in a way that's very exciting and very emotional because it affects your limbic brain, puts you in fear, and keeps you on that gerbil wheel of watching the news. And so I'm not recommending that you don't know the news and that you're not paying attention. I'm recommending that you don't watch it on TV, and listen to the tone. Because when you read the news, it is less emotional. It still might trigger some emotions, but it's not purposefully trying to trigger your limbic part of the brain that's fight, flight, or freeze and getting that. And so that's why it's really important to be mindful of where you are and how you're being impacted by the situations. Whether it's the movies you're watching, are you getting triggered with your fear base regularly? If so, you might want to find other ways to do life, because if there's a lot of stress going on and then you're being activated with the limbic part of the brain, the fight, flight, or freeze, and you're really reacting, it's really hard to stay above the fray. You have to really work extra hard. So when you really create a space of nourishment, of soothing, then it makes it easier to do that. And if you go to work and you have to listen to the news or you have to do that, well, then just be mindful that you have to really work to kind of decompress yourself from that energy in that space. So I think that's it. Thank you for listening. And, I know I hear a lot of people say, press a like button or whatever, but I'm really here to serve. And, but I do love dialogue. And so if you do want to comment, share some of the ideas that you're doing, because we're all here to help each other. I would love to hear what's working for you, how you're staying above the fray, and really just thank you for being. And I just wish you a nourishing day.